Michael Porter has worked exclusively from the landscape for the past 25 years. This exhibition at the Exchange in Penzance brings together paintings from the late 1980s to the present day. The inspiration came from two different locations, Shining Cliff Wood in Derbyshire and the coastline south of Newlyn in Cornwall. Michael Porter moved to Cornwall in 1997 and he found himself drawn to the landscape where the countryside meets the sea. The earlier Derbyshire paintings are the result of many walks through the mainly beech woodland, as Michael Porter explains.
These paintings were made as a result of visiting this particular area of woodland in Derbyshire fairly consistently over a long period of time. I used to visit every, say, 3 or 4 weeks over several years, taking photographs, bringing the photographs back to the studio, and then analysing the photographs. I don't paint photographs. They're used as a form of being able to analyse the place and the things that you find in the place. You're using the memory of place that you've gathered over several years and the very specific unchanging image that you've got in front of you. A lot of the more recent paintings, the natural objects are placed on top of the surface of the canvas and then painted directly from them. I'm painting from total reality, and very often it has a kind of trompe-l'oeil effect on the surface of the painting. So, and then these things are painted out slightly, and then it will maybe done again. So you have another leaf or branch which is painted on the top of this other one, which you can slightly see. And so it's one way of giving a depth in the surface of the canvas. In essence, that's what it's like in actuality, in nature, where you see one thing through another thing, through another thing. The earliest painting in the exhibition is from 1988, and at that time I was trying to imply space, but in a different way. There were two paintings in one painting. So I'd paint one complete painting in acrylic paint, and then subsequently on the surface of that I'd paint another painting in oil paint, and then I'd scrape through to the painting underneath. So you saw exactly the same painting done in different ways. I've done a whole series of Cornish stone paintings, one of which is in the exhibition, and it's relatively recent. This is a 2007 painting. The stones are painted on the surface, and then they're obliterated, and then they're painted back on the surface, and then they're obliterated again, and then they're painted back on the surface. And then at some point I've been taking stones and placing them on the painting and painting them absolutely precisely, so they look as though you could pick them from the surface of the painting. It's the old idea of mixing two different types of illusion. One is this thing that you can pick off and looks like it's an actual stone, and the other is this trying to make it seem as though you see one thing through another thing, through another thing, through another thing. I used to walk around this wood and see lots of different kinds of fungus all over the place. I decided to make a whole series of fungus paintings. And it did take an awfully long time to paint, because you can see how many different layers are in this painting. it's evolved enormously over, say, 9 months of the life of that painting. But this is also one thing that I'm incredibly drawn to, is that a painting has a life of its own, and it grows like nature itself. I think I would hope that somebody coming to my work gets a notion of place, a strong notion of place, but also a sense of time. I start from one layer and then it gets to be another layer. I start from the distance, if you like, or I start from the furthest thing away from me, even if it's an image which I'm looking down at the floor, and then it's as though you're making a walk through the nature in the process of making the painting. The exhibition is called Passage of Time because it's about the first painting in the exhibition was in 1988. The last painting is 2008. So there is the passage of time of that 20-year period, and it's how the paintings have evolved over that period of time. But it's also how you see the paintings. You have to invest a period of time looking at the paintings in order to understand what's happening within these paintings.